Meera Sharma and Rajiv Malhotra, an ambitious young employee and her charming, married boss, shared a secret affair that no one could have predicted would end in betrayal, disease, and a deadly act of revenge. A 28-year-old woman named Meera Sharma joined one of Mumbai's most respected advertising companies. She came from a small town, driven by the dream of making something meaningful out of her life. With her tidy appearance, quiet confidence, and hardworking nature, she quickly became known as one of the most promising employees in the office. Her ideas were fresh, her approach disciplined, and her dedication unmatched. She was the first to arrive every morning and often the last to leave, spending long hours perfecting client campaigns or staying behind to help others meet deadlines. Her colleagues admired her, yet few really knew her. Behind her calm exterior, Meera carried a deep loneliness. Her parents lived miles away, and her social circle was limited. Her life revolved around work, the one place that gave her a sense of purpose. The glow of computer screens and the hum of office chatter became the background music of her days. On weekends, while others went out with friends, Meera preferred to stay home, watching old films or reading. She had no romantic distractions, no drama, just a quiet rhythm of ambition and solitude. To her team, she was the dependable one, the woman who could be trusted with any responsibility. To her boss, however, she was beginning to stand out for another reason. Her calmness under pressure and ability to handle difficult clients caught his attention. He began noticing the way she carried herself, her focus, and her sincerity. In the professional world, attention from the boss could mean opportunity or something far more complicated. Meera didn't know it then, but her life was about to cross paths with a man who would destroy everything she had worked so hard to build. Rajiv Malhotra was everything people expected a successful man to be. At 42, he was the face of confidence, tall, well-dressed, and always in control. As the creative director of the advertising firm, he commanded respect wherever he went. His ideas shaped million-dollar campaigns, and his words carried weight. To outsiders, his life seemed perfect. A beautiful wife, 2 children studying in private schools, a luxury apartment in South Mumbai, and a reputation that others envied. But behind the charming smile and polished image, Rajiv's personal life was quietly crumbling. His marriage, once filled with affection, had become distant and mechanical. He and his wife spoke politely, but without emotion. Years of neglect and unspoken resentments had turned their relationship into a formality. At work, Rajiv found what his home lacked: admiration and energy. The office was his escape, a place where he still felt powerful and appreciated. That was where he first noticed Meera Sharma. Her professionalism, quiet focus, and refusal to engage in gossip intrigued him. Unlike others who tried to impress him, she seemed genuinely interested in the work, not the man. The more he observed her, the more he admired her composure. He began assigning her to key projects, often requesting her presence in private meetings. Meera was flattered by the trust, unaware of the subtle shift taking place. Rajiv's attention soon went beyond mentorship. He began sending her appreciative messages, complimenting her ideas, and finding excuses to linger near her desk. What started as professional respect slowly turned personal. To Meera, it felt like recognition. To Rajiv, it was temptation dressed as admiration. Neither of them realized that their growing connection was the beginning of a dangerous spiral, one that would soon blur every line between ambition, desire, and destruction. Over the next several months, Meera and Rajiv's professional bond deepened into something far more personal. Late-night brainstorming sessions turned into long conversations about life, dreams, and loneliness. Rajiv began sharing stories about his unhappy marriage, how he felt trapped in a loveless home but couldn't walk away because of his children. Meera, driven by empathy and emotional attachment, started believing she understood him better than anyone else. What began as a friendship built on trust quietly transformed into an affair wrapped in secrecy. Their meetings became more frequent and more private. Rajiv started picking her up after work, taking her to restaurants far from the office. He sent her gifts, a perfume she once mentioned liking, a book she had casually talked about, even handwritten notes appreciating her presence in his life. To Meera, these gestures felt sincere. She saw him not as a married man, but as someone misunderstood by the world, longing for love. She convinced herself that their connection was pure, even fated. Rajiv, however, lived two lives. At home, he played the role of a husband and father. At work, he became the charming mentor and secret lover. The thrill of hiding the affair made him feel young and alive again. Meera, unaware of the full extent of his manipulation, started relying on him emotionally. She began avoiding friends, skipping family calls, and devoting herself entirely to him. They made promises under the illusion of a future together. Rajiv spoke of divorce. Meera believed him. But deep down, he knew it was impossible. Still, he couldn't let her go. The line between truth and lies faded until their love was built entirely on deception. It was only a matter of time before that illusion shattered, and when it did, it would destroy them both. Months passed, and Meera's once bright energy began to fade. She felt tired all the time, her skin looked dull, and her appetite vanished. At first, she blamed it on overwork and stress. The late nights, the emotional exhaustion of secrecy, and the pressure of handling big projects all seemed like enough reasons for her declining health. But soon, her symptoms became harder to ignore. She started losing weight rapidly, running unexplained fevers, and waking up drenched in sweat. Even small tasks left her breathless. When she finally visited a doctor, she expected a routine diagnosis, perhaps anemia or vitamin deficiency. Instead, the doctor recommended a full set of blood tests. Meera didn't think much of it until the results came in. The report mentioned 3 words that froze her blood: HIV positive. For a long moment, she couldn't believe it. She sat in the hospital corridor staring at the paper, her hands trembling. Confusion, fear, and disbelief crashed over her at once. Her mind raced through every possibility. How could this happen? She wasn't reckless. She had no other relationships, no accidents, no reason for such a diagnosis. Then, one horrifying thought took shape. Rajiv. He was the only man she had been with. At first, she refused to accept it. He looked perfectly healthy, confident, and active. He had never shown a single sign of illness. But as the shock settled, a bitter question grew stronger inside her. Had he known? The more she thought about it, the more certain she became. Something about his recent distance, his occasional mood swings, and the sudden work trips began to make sense. A chill ran through her as realization turned into rage. The man she loved, the man she trusted completely, had given her a death sentence without saying a word. In the days following her diagnosis, Meera's world began to crumble. She avoided work, stopped answering calls, and spent hours staring at her phone, waiting for a message from Rajiv that never came. When he finally did contact her, his tone was casual, almost distant. He asked why she hadn't been showing up at the office, unaware, or pretending not to be aware, of the storm she was living through. Meera listened to his voice, cold and calm, and her suspicion grew heavier. She decided she needed proof, something concrete that confirmed what her heart already knew. One evening, she went to the office after hours, using her staff ID to enter. The corridors were silent, the lights dim. She walked straight into Rajiv's cabin, her hands shaking. She began searching through his desk drawers, papers, and files. Among invoices and contracts, she found an envelope with medical bills from a private hospital. Her breath caught as she unfolded the attached report. The name at the top read Rajiv Malhotra. The document confirmed her worst fear. He had tested HIV positive months earlier. Meera's heart pounded as she sank into his chair, staring at the report. The betrayal felt unbearable. He had known all along. He had carried the truth inside him while touching her, kissing her, whispering promises of forever. He had watched her fall deeper into love, knowing he was handing her a slow death. The image she once held of Rajiv, the successful, caring man, shattered instantly. She took photos of the documents, folded them carefully, and left the office quietly. Outside, the night air felt heavy. The city's lights blurred through her tears. She realized that the man she had loved was not just unfaithful, but cruelly deceitful. It wasn't just her heart he had broken, it was her future. The days that followed turned Meera into someone unrecognizable. Sleep deserted her, food lost its taste, and her reflection in the mirror felt like that of a stranger. The cheerful, focused woman who once dreamed of success now sat surrounded by silence and anger. Every memory of Rajiv replayed in her mind. The compliments, the promises, the lies. She kept asking herself how he could have hidden something so monstrous. Her love had become poison, and the betrayal consumed her like a slow fire. At first, she wanted answers. She drafted messages asking him why, but deleted them before sending. What words could explain what he had done? Days turned into weeks, and her sadness hardened into rage. She began to isolate herself completely. The curtains stayed closed, her phone on silent. She replayed their old photos and read their emails until they felt like evidence in a case she was building in her head. Her pain demanded justice, and in her fractured state, she began to believe she was the one meant to deliver it. She started writing in a notebook, her thoughts, her anger, her plans. Each page carried a deeper darkness. She recorded voice notes describing how it felt to die slowly because of someone else's secret. Her words grew colder, her tone more determined. She told herself she didn't want to kill him. She only wanted him to understand the suffering he had caused. But beneath that thought burned something darker, a quiet desire for revenge. One night, as rain hit her window, Meera stood staring into the black sky and whispered to herself that it was time. She didn't know exactly how or when, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Rajiv Malhotra had taken her life from her, and she was going to take something back. The night Meera chose was dark and heavy with rain, the kind that blurs streetlights into smeared orange lines. She had planned every small detail with a steady, hollow focus. The hotel was modest, a place people used for short meetings and private escapes. She picked it because it would not draw attention and because Rajiv would never suspect that a simple invite could end everything. She arrived early and checked into a room under a different name, moving like someone carrying a secret too large for daylight. Her hands trembled only once, when she took a small knife from the lining of her purse and tucked it under a towel on the bed. Hours of silence passed while she waited. She reviewed the recorded messages she had made, her voice steady, recounting the betrayal and the diagnosis, telling truths she felt he owed her. She had not planned to die. She had told herself the plan was to force him to face what he had done, to make him see the damage he caused. But as the minutes stretched, the anger in her chest tightened into something sharper, and the line between making him understand and making him suffer blurred. When Rajiv arrived, the air felt electric. She locked the door behind him and played one of the recordings. She watched him change from calm to pale, seeing for the first time the man who had always tried to control the scene. Panic replaced his composure. In that moment, something inside Meera snapped. The knife flashed, a quick, violent reaction to years of betrayal and fear. The attack was chaotic and brief. Blood spread across the bedspread and the carpet, sudden and shocking, leaving no room for words or explanation. Afterward, Meera sat with her hands cold, the reality of what she had done pressing down like the rain on the window. She swallowed sleeping pills she had bought the day before, not fully knowing whether she wanted punishment, escape, or an end to the unbearable weight inside her. Hours later, hotel staff found the room and called for H. When the authorities arrived at the hotel, the scene was shocking. Rajiv lay lifeless on the bed, his body marked by multiple stab wounds, while Meera was found semi-conscious, barely clinging to life. Emergency services rushed both to the nearest hospital. Rajiv was pronounced dead on arrival, his life cut short in a violent, unexpected moment that stunned everyone involved. Meera was stabilized but remained in critical condition, her body weakened from both the pills she had taken and the adrenaline-fueled exhaustion of the attack. The news spread quickly. Headlines screamed about a secret affair ending in bloodshed. People were fascinated and horrified in equal measure. How could a seemingly perfect businessman be killed by a young employee he had mentored? Investigators combed through the hotel room, gathering evidence. The knife, the recorded messages, photos, and notes Meera had left behind. Each item painted a picture of a carefully planned confrontation fueled by rage and betrayal. Interviews with hotel staff revealed how quietly Meera had carried out her plan, the chilling calm before the storm. Every detail of the encounter was scrutinized, how she lured him, how she locked the door, and the sequence of events that led to Rajiv's death. Police quickly connected the dots to their long-term secret affair. It became clear that this was not a random act of violence, but a deliberate attack rooted in intense emotional turmoil. The public's attention shifted to Meera. Who was she really? What drove a young, seemingly ordinary woman to take the life of a man she had loved? And why had Rajiv, a successful businessman with a family, hidden such a dangerous secret? The investigation was just beginning, and the shocking truth behind the affair and its deadly consequences would soon emerge, exposing betrayals, lies, and the devastating aftermath of secrets kept too long. The investigation into Rajiv's death quickly captured national attention, turning the private tragedy into a sensational headline. Police meticulously examined every detail: the knife used in the attack, the recorded messages, the notes Meera had written, and the evidence of their affair. Emails and text messages revealed how their relationship had evolved from professional mentorship into a secretive and intimate connection, confirming that both parties had knowingly crossed boundaries. The authorities also obtained Meera's hospital records, which detailed her HIV diagnosis, and Rajiv's medical documents, which confirmed that he had known about his condition months before their relationship escalated. As the story unfolded, the media painted a complex portrait of the two individuals involved. Rajiv, the married businessman with a public reputation of charm and success, was revealed as a man who had deliberately hidden a life-altering secret from someone who trusted him completely. Meera, on the other hand, emerged as a woman driven to the edge by betrayal, fear, and heartbreak. Experts were called to discuss how emotional manipulation and secrecy could push a person into extreme actions, highlighting the psychological toll of hidden truths. Forensic evidence corroborated Meera's account of the confrontation. The investigators noted the meticulous nature of her planning, the timing, the location, and the recordings, showing a woman who felt compelled to confront the man who had destroyed her life. Police also confirmed that while her intent may not have been premeditated murder in the traditional sense, the deliberate act of stabbing Rajiv multiple times indicated culpable homicide. The revelation that Rajiv had knowingly exposed Meera to a deadly virus without informing her shocked the public. It reframed the case from a simple affair gone wrong into a story of calculated deceit, betrayal, and the devastating consequences of secrets kept too long. The investigation. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with tension as the trial began. Meera sat quietly, her eyes hollow but alert, while prosecutors laid out the evidence against her: the affair, the carefully planned confrontation, the knife, and the recordings. Every email, photo, and message she had sent or saved was scrutinized, painting a vivid picture of a relationship built on secrecy, passion, and ultimately, betrayal. The narrative that emerged was chilling: how a trusted mentor had knowingly exposed a young woman to a life-threatening virus, and how that deception had fueled a deadly act of revenge. Meera confessed to everything but maintained that her intention had never been to kill Rajiv outright. She admitted she wanted him to face the pain he had caused her, to see the consequences of his lies and deceit. The court listened to her recorded messages, which recounted her anguish and the betrayal she felt. Witnesses, including colleagues and hotel staff, corroborated the timeline and her meticulous planning. Medical reports confirmed both her and Rajiv's HIV status, emphasizing the gravity of the deceit. After weeks of testimonies and deliberation, the judge delivered the verdict. Meera was found guilty of culpable homicide and sentenced to 10 years in prison. The courtroom was silent as the sentence was read, leaving a mixture of relief, sorrow, and disbelief hanging in the air. For Meera, freedom had been replaced by confinement, but the weight of betrayal and heartbreak would follow her far beyond the prison walls. Years later, from her cell, Meera wrote letters to Rajiv's family and to herself, attempting to find closure. In them, she apologized not for his death, but for the choices, lies, and secrets that had led them both to ruin. Her final reflection was somber and haunting. Some betrayals are not just about lies or broken hearts. They destroy lives, futures, and the very souls of those involved. In the end, the story remained a grim reminder that hidden